Hello, everyone. Good afternoon. This is Dr. Gwen from the Dr. Gwen International Training and Empowerment Academy and host of the iTunes show, The Dr. Gwen Show. How are you doing today, my loves? It has been the most amazing morning. Got up a little earlier today, had a good start, and I'm feeling very vibrant today. I hope that you are too. And I hope to see some of my friends on here with me. Sometimes it does get a little bit quiet around here, and I love to see the comments and everything that you are putting forth on the page. And we've been talking a lot about the home, mommies, your children. How do you raise them? What are some of the things that you do to ensure that they are proficient when they actually walk out of your presence and become adults on their own? But also too, during the process of being kids at home, being successful in their school life, and doing the things that you would like to see them do around the home to ensure that they are growing and developing the way they should. Now today, my conversation is going to be about the dangers of standardization. Now, just to make sure that we're all on the same page, I would like to define for you what standardization is. And for me, what that means is making everything alike. Now, I have a degree in psychometrics, so I am very accustomed to writing items, test items, survey items, and those types of things that measure. And from that perspective, we try to standardize tests as well to give to people so that we can measure their success. The whole idea behind a standardized test is to see how people line up on a continuum. So you set a standard and everybody bumps up against that standard, and they measure them in terms of percentiles and how they are performing. So if you are a professional, you've been to school, for example, you might have done a test like for becoming a CPA or the bar exam, or one for becoming a physician or a teacher, or any one of those professional tests. They're all standardized, meaning that there is a certain set of items, they're scaled a certain way so that you are going to ensure that some people fall in the upper scale, some in the middle, and some below. And so you line them up on a continuum on one standard. Now, there are some challenges with that, because first of all, sometimes in life it doesn't tend to work that way. It may be okay for a standardized test, because you have to measure to see the extent to which people have learned what they're doing. And in those tests, we have what's called the Criterion reference test, which are those tests that are measured on the criteria that you have set up for the people who are in the room. Now, in life, the criterion can be and should be different for every single person that are involved. See, you are special and you are unique. And you came here with a purpose to fulfill in this life. Your standard is not going to be the same measure as someone else's. Your experiences are not going to be the same as someone else's experience. Your mission, your destiny is not the same. And yet, what do? We find ourselves wanting to make everybody jump to the same beat. And it doesn't work that way. This past weekend, I was involved in an activity where we were measuring and kind of judging contestants and different individuals. And so this guy got up and he spoke quite eloquently, very beautifully. We all understood what he said. Very wonderful delivery, and it was great. So now it was time for feedback. And everybody gave him feedback on how wonderful he did and how everything was just simply fantastic. And then we had one of the commentators got up and started to correct his speech. Now, he was from Sudan, I believe, and so he had an accent just like we all do. Depends on where you come from. You have an accent too, okay? So this person went up and started correcting the language. Instead of saying this, say that. Instead of saying this or pronouncing it this way, pronounce it this way. And I'm going in my head. In fact, I did speak up. I said, well, it's okay. We understand what he was saying. This is not about standardizing the speech. You see, if you look around in nature, what you notice is that nothing is standardized. Everything is unique. Even the flowers that have same colors or hues, they are different just by virtue of being a part of nature. See, the divine is so creative and doesn't run out of ideas, so no two things are identical. Well, what makes you think that every two people need to be identical? What makes you think, even mommies, that all of your kids need to be identical? They all have different qualities, different strengths, different abilities, different disabilities. And so when we learn to appreciate those differences, we learn to understand that every single person fits a mold that is perfect for them. Now, this is why we find people having self-esteem issues, because what's happening is they are measuring themselves against somebody else's standards. They're looking over there and they're seeing what she is doing, or they're seeing what he is doing, and they're looking at the way he speaks or the way she speaks, or whatever the mannerisms are that he or she has. And inherently what they're doing is trying to be like everybody else. Now, if you find that you are having some issues being confident in who you are, then you might just want to take a step back and examine what is going on in your head. Are you measuring yourself against someone else's standards? Because their standards okay for them, and your standards is okay for you. Now I want to pause there for a minute so that you can really process that. Because the moment we come to realizing that you and me and every single one of us here have a unique responsibility on this earth, then we will stop this foolishness of trying to standardize people. The beauty is in the differences. The greatness is in the differences. The greatness is in you. So, think for a moment. Mommies, with your kids at home, are you trying to make John just like Susie? Are you trying to make Susie just like John? Are you verbalizing that? Why can't you be like your brother or your sister? Are you doing those things and setting the kids one up against the other so that they have esteem issues when they grow up and feel like they just can't measure up? The thing to do is to have them feel comfortable in their own skin. Yesterday, I talked with you about identifying where their bent is, where they're going, where their natural inclination is. If you can do that and you can reinforce those inclinations, applaud your kids for their uniqueness. speak to it. Have each of them say positive things about the other that they like in those moments, and build them up so that they understand that they are special and they're unique. And they don't have to try to fit in when they go to school to try to be like someone else. They can be their own selves. There is power in that. There's great power in knowing who you are and living into who you are, so that everybody else around you can see your unique qualities. See, the thing is, when we're busy trying to be like someone else, we are completely neglecting who we are and why we are here. We are trying to fit that mold because we want to be liked. And the irony is, in pretending, we can't keep up the pretense forever. And so there is a lot of lack of fluidity in the way you're being, because one day you're this way and the next day you're this way, and you've forgotten how you were pretending to be the day before that. And so now people are confused. I found this in life, that when you get comfortable in your skin, other people get comfortable with you. If you are not comfortable with who you are, and you don't even know who you are, you won't even attract the right people in your life. You won't attract a lover. You won't attract a friend. You won't attract a confidant. You won't attract someone who resonates with you, because who you are putting yourself out there to be is completely who you are not. So be comfortable in your skin. Now, if you are in this phase where you're trying to correct everyone to act the way you do, to speak the way you do, to dress the way you do, the appropriateness of the dressing, and I understand there are some standards that some organizations have for people to abide by in their dressing in a professional way. And if you're going into those organizations, I would say abide by them. But in life in general, when people want the freedom of expression of who they are, who am I? Who are you? Who is anybody else to tell them how absolutely they need to conduct themselves? Yes, I am a big one when it comes to proper protocols and doing the right things, being proper and being expressive in a manner that doesn't offend. And as long as we are respectful of other people's space and respectful of what their rights are, we should allow people to be free to be who they are. Not to standardize them and to say, well, you ought to speak this way or do this or do that. Mommies, parents, we can do that a lot to our kids. And then what happens is they grow up not knowing who they are. They're artificial. They're trying to fit in here and they're trying to fit in there, and they're just not being who they are. So, are you standardizing yourself to somebody else's standard? Are you standardizing your kids? I invite you to stop doing that and to understand the power, the true power and beauty and richness that really exists in having each of us be our own fullest expressed self. I am feeling so great today, and I am so delighted that you have been able to be here with me. What I am going to ask you to do is, if you watch this live cast later, is to comment below, leave your comments, send your questions. I'm always open to those. And I also want to share this with my mommies who come on here, that I have a special book that will be coming out very shortly, and I want you to be attuned to that. It has a lot of these tips that I've been going through and more. In fact, 101 of them. So you will not run out of ideas in terms of knowing exactly how you want to handle the challenges, the joys, the pleasures, the responsibilities of mommyhood. So I thank you once again for being here with me today. I will be back tomorrow. Yes, I will be. And I hope that you can join me again. And it will be at 3 p.m. just like I do every day. And so have the most amazing afternoon. And this is Dr. Gwen, empowering lives to live purposefully and passionately.